task 2. Does that sound right?
Yeah, what do we do about that? Should we repeat something you did?
All right. Hello, everyone. Kyle, AA0Z, and welcome to the new CW Operators Roundtable. Tonight, we have a treat. This is a stream that I've wanted to do for a long time, and we're going to get right into it. If you have a question about our topic, put question in the chat, and then put your question so we can field it appropriately. But I want to introduce, from the Long Island CW Club, Bob, WO6W from California. Hello, Bob. And we got Tom, WA9CW from Wisconsin. Hello.
Hi, Kyle.
So, and Evan. Hello, Evan. Evan is K2EJT from New York, Upper New York.
What's going on, guys?
So, one of the things that intrigues all of us, especially myself, is bugs. And I think that we have all heard probably a bug on the air and how it differs from iambic paddle and a straight key. And we're going to get into why is that different? Why do they send a little bit different? Why do they sound a little crazy? And we're going to get into a lot of the other things about bugs that you probably didn't know. So we're going to do a deep dive tonight. So you might want to get some popcorn and your best drink, and we're gonna do a deep dive here. First, I want to say hello to Bob and get his thoughts on where he came from in CW, and give us a little history about the Long Island CW Club and how you got interested in bugs, and maybe a little bit about your CW journey.
So I was first licensed back in around 1965, give or take. After I failed my first sending test to get licensed. I was too nervous to operate a straight key. I came back in actually, my mother drove me back in a few weeks later, passed the exam with a bug, and proceeded to do virtually no CW until maybe 2.5, 3 years ago.
So you passed your CW sending test with a bug?
With a bug, and probably by the generosity of the examiner. I'll let this poor kid out of here. But then there was a very long period of time when I did no CW to speak of, for pretty much none. About the beginning of COVID, I decided I wanted to get back into it. For a variety of reasons, CW seemed to be the mode of choice. And I had learned how to operate with paddles. I stuck with paddles for a while longer and was probably in the mid-20s, receive send speed on paddles. Decided I'd try a straight key again. I hated it a long time ago. Maybe it's changed, and I discovered I loved manual sending. My ear had learned the sound of proper code, which is just a critical piece to sending with any device. But I picked up a straight key and it worked. And then a while later, I tried a side swiper. And then a while later, I tried a bug, and my paddles keep getting pushed further and further off the bench.
Yeah.
Bug is probably my favorite key right now.
Gotcha. How long
Oh, I'm the new guy. I'm an enthusiastic new bug user. Tom is the experienced guy who I go to for mentorship, one of a few people in LICW who are those really, really expert operators and those great coaches.
So how long have you been a member of the Long Island CW Club?
Just about since the start of COVID. So what, pushing 3 years?
3 years. Yep. And you guys you and Tom, you have a forum every week on Long Island CW called Wild About Bugs, right? Where you just talk about everything bug related every single week in the Zooms that happen at the Long Island CW Club, right?
But it started out Wild About Bugs and has broadened out a bit. There's more on general telegraphy instruments, so various types of keys, especially historic older keys. A little bit on sounders, railroad telegraphy, things of that sort. But bugs is a really, really strong theme in there.
Gotcha. Very good. Tom, what drove you to bugs and CW?
Okay, well, I didn't realize that Bob got his novice license about the same year that I did. I got my novice license when I guess about 1965, and somewhere along the way there, I rode my bicycle down to a guy's house. I didn't really know him, but he was a year or two younger than me actually. But I wanted to see his ham shack, and when I got to his house and went in, he was sitting there at his radio, and of course he was just chatting back and forth with somebody. He was a novice. He was a novice. I think he might have been a general for all I know. I guess perhaps he was, but he was using a bug. It was the first time I'd ever seen a bug. I had an old military straight key that I learned to send code with, but when I saw the bug, I knew right then that was all I ever wanted to do right there in ham radio. I wanted to get my general license so I could just really get on the air, and I wanted to use a bug. And of course, 15-year-old's life kind of changes pretty quick. So I got out of the novice business and didn't get back into the ham radio business until about 1993 or 94. But once again, I still only wanted to do CW, and I was only interested in using bug. So when I got back into it, I really bared down on the code so I could, because obviously that was a big frightening part of the whole thing as a novice. So I got started back into it. I think I've made 3, perhaps 4 sideband contacts in nearly 30 years. And those were after I moved from Louisiana to Oklahoma. Some guys wanted to stay in touch for a while, and we tried a couple of nights to have sideband contact with one another. And that was my first time on sideband. And since then, since I've been in Wisconsin for the last 12 years, I've made 1. And that was somebody looking for the county. And so I've been CW and bugs. I'm monochromatic. I only need one eye socket right here. I'm pretty narrow-minded about what I like about all of this stuff. So I'm happy for anybody who want to do anything they want to, but for me, it's CW and it's bugs.
Yeah, very good. So thank you for being here, one, and two, for being members and hosts and teachers on the Long Island CW Club. I think Evan is a teacher. I'm a member, and I know a lot of people in the chat are members of the Long Island CW Club. So thanks for taking the time out of your day to teach us about some history and things about bugs. So let's get into it. First, we're just going to dive right in. What is a bug, and how does it differ from all of the other CW paddles, straight keys, iambic paddles, side swipers? What is the difference between all what is the difference between a bug and all of the rest of these keys that we're talking about? I think we lost we lost Bob. Bob, you want to field that question?
So what I was just doing was grabbing another key. Sorry, moving a bug around. The bug and the side swiper both were introduced about 1904. Okay, you had telegraphers who were doing the up and down motion and running into what was called glass arm, telegrapher's paralysis. We probably would call it carpal tunnel today, or repetitive stress injury today. And again, it was from the mechanics of the way they were keying for hours and hours a day, day after day, and they were destroying their wrists. Let me grab 2 keys and put them down here. As I say, the bug and the side swiper came about almost exactly the same time. The original bugs looked actually not a whole lot different than the one that we're going to pull up here. Yeah, there we go. Let's go to another camera. Okay, so there we go. So the key, straight key, was an up and down motion, right? This sort of thing.
Yeah.
The side swiper and the bug came at about the same time. Side swiper is almost like having 2 straight keys back to back on their side. You close to either side and you get a tone. And keying is with a rolling motion of the wrist and a bit of finger. Okay. Whatever. Side swiper. And this looks very, very much like one of the original side swipers introduced. This is an old Bunnell.
Okay.
Bug addressed the same problem. It got rid of the up and down motion, went to side to side. It's also referred to as a semi-automatic key. When you're keying, there we go.
There you go.
There is a vibrating arm, this pendulum here. And it's got a weight on it that you can slide back and forth.
Okay.
Here's our manual. The dip is semi-automatic. So it got rid of the up and down. It allowed for much greater speed, much easier ascending. And so on. And speed range on most of the bugs that were in use at that time tended to be relatively high speed instruments. This design goes down to maybe 22 or so, and it's pushing toward 40.
So you adjust the speed by swinging the pendulum weight up and down, and is the slowest speed that you can go on a bug somewhere around 20 words per minute?
On this design, okay, I've got one other that I'm going to pull out in a moment. So again, this is toward the very low end. Okay.
Okay.
Right-handed bug. I also needed a bug to go on the left-hand side. And
there's right-handed bugs and left-handed bugs. I had no idea.
Bugs and left-handed bugs. And in fact, your right hand can teach your left hand how to send on a bug. If you know how to send right hand, you can take a bug in each hand and mimic.
Gotcha.
Okay. And my right hand taught my left hand how to work. This is a KN4YB, one of the relatively few people currently making bugs. And I've got this set for its ultra low speed mode. There's an extension weight here, another weight way out there, and this is not the way that I send, but it will do it. Okay. You can get bugs very, very slow. My personal thought on them is that they're not fundamentally a slow speed instrument.
Gotcha.
I go to a bug maybe 20 and up.
Now, does the second weight slow down the sending of the dits, or is that just the design that we're seeing here?
So on the other bug, you notice that square weight I was sliding back and forth, right?
Correct.
It has a pendulum on it, which is fairly short. When I'm using this normally, it's set up something like this, which is going to get me into the 20-ish range. But when he sells this, he includes the extension, the ultra low gear. And I'm
Ah,
sticking every bit of weight I can as far out from the pivot as I can, and it will go slow.
because the further the weight is from the pivot point, the slower the dits are made, correct?
You look up there's math on the way pendulums work. This is
Yeah.
a horizontal pendulum. And
Got
there are accessories you can put onto bugs that there's something called a varispeed, which has a weight on a pivot for a vibroplex, and the weight's high up. It's fairly fast. You slide the weight way out to the tip, and it slows it way down. People will put carpenters' stair measuring stair gauges, onto the arm of a bug. There are all sorts of, wrap lots of solder around the weight. You can slow them down. It's not their fundamental place to shine.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay.
And this one, again, it's right angle. The pendulum's just going out to the side. I had a very limited amount of desk space on the left side. So this one gave me the room to be able to reach over with my other hand and key on a bug.
Oh, that's interesting. So you bought this bug because you needed this is the space that you had on your desk.
Can I get this camera to go far enough over? So there's my phone, must be over there someplace. Follow my hand out. There we are. Where's my hand? There we are. This little board sticking out here.
Yes.
Okay, so the bug sits there, and I have just enough room to rest my hand on something.
Ah, okay. Gotcha. That's interesting. Yeah.
Tom, to you?
Oh, Tom, did you have a question or a
Or
comment?
did you have something to add?
Um, as far as no, as far as what is a bug, no. I think you covered it pretty good. It mechanically makes the dots for you at variable speed, and you manually make the dashes the same way that with the same kind of timing as you would with a straight key to get the 1-to-3 ratio from dots to dashes.
So on a bug, you're not like you said the dashes are made manually, so therefore you have to manually make those dashes. It's not like an iambic paddle where if you just hold the paddle down, it's just going to repetitively send dashes. You have to manually make those dashes, right?
That's correct. Yes, and a dash is 3 times the length of a dot would be in time of the length of the tone. So, and that's where a lot of people get into trouble with the bugs. Is the dash is somewhat elongated, and then the dash is not somewhat elongated; it's extremely elongated, which makes them really hard to copy.
Yes.
And they've called it the Lake Erie swing, banana boat swing, different things. Exactly, and makes it really hard to copy. It's copyable when you get into the rhythm with it eventually, but it certainly does not do the bug justice. A bug is like in my opinion, a bug is an instrument that you can produce art with, and just like with a violin or some kind of a musical instrument. And so why not try to do that and send beautiful code with it rather than sloppy, uncomfortable to copy code.
Yeah, I have noticed on many activations, mostly POD activations, that you can really tell the difference, or you can tell whenever someone is sending on a bug, right? The dashes are usually very long, and the dits come at you, hot and heavy, and it's very noticeable. Evan, go.
I was gonna say, then you got guys like me who do POTA activations on bugs because I'm that guy. So
Yes, yeah. Yes. People who activate with bugs, that's a totally different dimension because then, well, it might not be as bad because you're as a hunter, right? Typically you're listening for that activator for a while. At least I am, right? I'm listening for them to call CQ. I'm waiting for the break, right, in order to send my call sign. And typically, it's whenever you're activating, you hear that bug as an activator, as the hunter is sending as a bug, and it throws you off sometimes because you're in a rhythm, right? And you're not ready for that different type of pace. And it can be a little unnerving as a new CW operator to be like, oh, wait a minute, what was that? I heard a bunch of dits and dots, but it just totally went by fast, and I don't know what I heard. But I would assume that if you're activating with a bug and I'm hunting you, I'm listening and I'm getting into that rhythm and I'm hearing your fist and I'm figuring it out, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I see Evan spotted. Yep, I'm hearing his call sign, and you're copying down everything, and it's a little bit less jarring than whenever you hear it out of the blue as an activator,
Well, and I tried to work pretty hard on my bug fish to the point where it was pretty copyable. Some people, like Tom was saying, some people are really hard to copy with those real long DAWs and those real short dits, and the timing gets all thrown off. And I tried real hard to get my bug fish to the point where it's hard to tell the difference between a bug and paddles. So I'm generally fairly good on a bug, but it still throws people for a loop sometimes when I do activations on a bug, but it's fun.
Yeah. It's like Tom has got a good point. It's like music. It's like a rhythm. It's syncopation, right? You just get into that once you've heard it and you learn how to copy it, then the second time you copy, the third time, the fourth time you copy, it's not that big of a deal.
Well, the thing that makes CW copyable to begin with is the timing, the inner element timing, the inner letter timing, the inner word timing, and all of those, and the ratios of the tones, one to the other, dots to dashes, and keeping that tight and together like sending it like it should be is what makes it coherent. Otherwise, you wind up with maybe some random letters. Split words up and such things. So it's all important, but there's a certain amount of organic beauty to it or whatever. Everyone has their bug fist, and if it's a good fist, it may sound a little different, but it should be as easy to copy as any other kind of CW sent by any other instrument.
Yeah. There is some bad fists and there's some good fists out there and you know exactly what. Once you start copying CW and you start hearing the different fists out there, you instantly recognize which ones are good and which ones need some work. The other question that we had was, what are the different parts of a bug? I know that we talked about the pendulum and we talked about the paddles, but is there any other parts on a bug that especially a new CW operator that might, come across a bug or might inherit one or might want to buy one? And we're going to get into maybe a buying guide of what you should be looking at if you want to go out and purchase a bug. But what are the different parts on a bug that really make a difference, that should stand out? I know that we had a conversation before this about the things that you look for to make sure that they're intact and they're up to snuff. And maybe we can hit on a little bit of that while we're going through the parts and the pieces of a bug. Bob, you want to take that one? Or you want to pass it over to Tom?
Tom, you were going to look a little bit about adjusting a bug. I'm wondering, would going through the adjustment relatively quickly, identifying the parts as you set them, be a nice way to do that? We can combine those two functions.
Yeah,
we had talked about this, and if I was going to go through how to get the bug operating. Say you bought a new bug and it was out of adjustment.
Yeah, let's
adjustment, and then that will entail every part of the bug.
Yeah, let's start with that.
Okay, and so I'll change my camera.
Okay.
So we can put it down to the table here. Okay, and as you can see, I have 3 bugs here. Now these are 3. That's kind of bright.
Yeah, the spotlight's on. Oh, there you go.
This is kind of Neanderthal stuff at my house.
Looks good.
All right, here's three. This is three Vibraplex bugs. Um, this is an original. This is a 1956 original, and this one over here on the side is a 1940 original, and very much the same design as when they first came out. And the architecture is the same. Only thing is the style of the castings changed a little bit, more rounded off. The arch is a little more rounded and such. But that is an original.
Okay.
This bug here is a Vibraplex lightning bug. Now the lightning bug is basically the same. It differs in that rather than cast parts, all the parts are stamped, which made it a little less expensive to produce. The pendulum is a flat bar. All of this could be made out of flat stock and or stamped. I will demonstrate how to set the bug up on the original because all of the settings are out here on this arm, which makes it a little. Those same settings are located on the lightning bug, but they happen to be on this vertical post that's holding the arbor part together.
Gotcha.
So we'll demonstrate it on this one, but the otherwise setup will be the same. And then this is a champion. The champion came out. That you can see that these two keys have shorting bars, which would have been used for the telegraph line. But the champion came out as a lower cost option for particularly for ham radio operators, and there's no shorting bar on it. But it is from here this way, identical to a lightning bug. The only difference is that the damper on the end stands, this little lollipop stands up here on the end, and this one is built into this frame.
What is a shortening bar?
Oh well, the shorting bar in telegraphy, if like on the railroad telegraph lines, if someone wanted on a station north of you wanted to send some information to a station south of you, if you had your key open, you would receive their message, but they wouldn't. But the one downstream of you wouldn't. I think that's the way it works. So what you would do when you're not actively using your telegraph, then you would just close the shorting bar, which would send the on down the line.
I see.
Some people use, well, I can tune up with it, but I can also put my arm on it while I tune up or whatever. But you can use it to tune up your radio with. But that was the purpose of the shorting bar.
Okay, gotcha.
Was the continuity of the telegraph line.
Gotcha.
And it's interesting to note, when you open that, you were breaking the circuit. So we talk about the break key on a modern keyboard. This is where the break came from.
Breaking or making the circuit, that's right. So, but what I'm going to talk to a little bit about this key here. As I said, it's the same, only it will be a little bit easier to identify the parts.
Okay.
Well, I won't try to sim with it now because I'll lay something under it before I do. But here's what I'm going to do with it. I'm going to take the weight off, and I'm going to turn all of these screws all the way out.
Okay. So these are the adjustment screws.
These are the adjustment screws, that's right. And I am going to turn all of them out so that this key is 100% out of adjustment.
Okay.
It's worth noting, the first time you do that, it's daunting. The first time you adjust a bug, it's a challenge. The second time, certainly by the third time, it is so straightforward, but it takes that first time to get through it.
That's right. And if you order a bug from eBay, it's liable to have this pendulum outside this job. I mean, no telling what condition it's going to be in. And some people even will go so far as to remove the pendulum altogether.
Oh, wow.
So we'll do that too. And this will demonstrate how the pendulum is set.
And
Well,
how,
there's a lot of threads on this one. Okay.
And that's a vulnerable part. So they're taking it off to protect the finger pieces from breaking.
Right. Wrap it separately. These guys get broken pretty easy and frequently in shipping. So this is the pendulum. And on the pendulum shaft, the pendulum, of course, has the located on there is your dit contact spring. It's a U-shaped spring that also when it goes into contact with the firm dot contact, it actually has a little play which allows it to move into that pressure just a little bit and create a dwell time on the contact, which makes a good clean dot.
Gotcha.
This spring here is the spring that returns the pendulum to its original position after making dots. It's critical to get off those dots, not to have split or slurred or trashy dots at the end. The dash lever is back here. It's mounted around the arbor here, the spindle, or different names for it, I guess. But it rotates around here, and this would be the spring that you would adjust to give you tension for your dash lever, dash arm.
If you had a bug and you were missing dits and dots, what areas would you clean? Would you clean the end of that spring there?
Okay.
That U-shaped spring?
This contact here, yes. And I keep this is just a piece of brown paper bag that I just cut into strips, and I'll keep several of these here on my operating desk. This is what I use to clean those contacts with. You don't want to use a file, or you don't want to use any. I mean, if you had some 4,000 grit, some kind of wet dry paper or something, that you might get away with that. But really, you don't want to do too much. You don't want to do anything that would be too abrasive on the face of those contacts.
Something that I found works really good on those contacts are Mr. Clean Magic erasers. It takes all of the tarnish and everything off the silver, but it doesn't remove any material.
Yep, and that's what you want to do. You want to shine her up and clean her up. My bug has slurred dots. Okay, I'll talk about the slurred dots in just about 4 or 5 minutes from now.
Okay, sounds good.
But as far as what to clean, obviously this contact here has a matching contact in the bottom of the arbor that's just like it. This has a hole in the end where you can see. I guess I could put my glasses on and I could see here. Okay, this has a hole in the end, and in that hole in the end is where, as you can see, the shaft has a cone-shaped point on either end.
Yeah.
So it just sits in the bottom in that cone, and in the top it's locked into place by that cone. My aim's not real good on that right now, but that's the only contact that it has that makes the continuity between this part and the ground. So this needs to be pretty clean and pretty shiny.
Gotcha. Okay.
And there are some bugs, I'm not going to go into it, but some of the other bugs have the red bead in here that have a different grounding setup, but the setup will be the same. All right, so I will put this back together quickly. And in doing so, I will stand it up so that we can kind of see what it looks like.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. It's kind of maybe won't fall too hard. All right. This is kind of touchy. I'll go ahead and put this back in.
So that is what you're inserting there and screwing that in. That is the screw.
This is the pivot screw. This is the pivot screw that goes into the arch or the mainframe, sometimes it's called.
Yep.
And I'll just insert that right back in here. And I'll screw it almost to where it comes almost out through the bottom. And then I'll just drop this back in, and I will place the bottom point into this one in the bottom. Now it can be adjusted up and down from a screw in the bottom.
Okay.
And from there, I will just move it right over and close this down on it at the top. And now, as you can see, it's back in position.
Yep.
Now, if a fellow wanted to get stud horse tied on this, he could damage that. So you want to bring it snug, but it's okay to have just ever such a slight amount of movement up and down, but only a slight amount of movement up and down. But that would ensure that you do not crush anything in this. And that is especially true on the one that you'll see that has the red bead in it, because rather than having a point on the end of that, it'll be rounded, and it rests against an actual some type of ruby, garnet, or some kind of stone, which can be fractured if it's closed down too tight. So a little bit of play there is fine. All right. Since we have that there, I'll go ahead and bring this lock nut down and close the lock nut down. All right. We'll begin to, now that we have that in place, well, I guess I will put this spring back in. That's going to be pretty important. Little piece of this whole thing, piece of this pie.
So that goes on the pendulum arm, and then I see that you're screwing that into another.
Right. This screw, if you can see, has a little nib on the end of it.
Yep.
So that little nib will fit up inside that spring.
Okay.
It's a cone-shaped spring. So that will just go. I'll try to keep my hands out of the way if I can. That'll just go right there.
Norm is asking while you're doing that. Norm is asking, what is the screw on the top that holds the pendulum mechanism on called?
What is the screw called?
Yes.
The pivot screw is one of the things it's called. Now you can go to the Vibraplex website and look up their parts diagram, and you identify it by, if you wanted to buy another one, that's what you would do. You go to Vibraplex, you would look it up on the parts diagram, identify what it is, and get the part number, call Vibraplex and talk to them about it. But it's,
okay.
But it's one of the names for it. It's part of the trunnion setup. You know, the up and the bottom and the top could be considered a trunnion, like on a straight key.
Yep.
But it's the pivot screw, and so now we have this spring back in place. It's on the nib, so I'll just give it a little tension and tighten it down.
Okay.
All right. The next thing that I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and put a weight on.
And you're just going to put it anywhere in the.
I'll just slide it on here and put it somewhere in there, because I want to be able to see it press against the damper with some weight. So with this screw here, I will set the pendulum so that you see it's moving, it's vibrating now probably.
Yeah.
I will set it to where it just barely touches. You can even hear it just barely touch that.
Okay.
The damper. So now we've got that to where we're touching our damper. Now this adjustment probably doesn't need to be adjusted again. Okay. Now we'll set our dash contact. I'll go ahead and hook it up so you can hear it as I go. And this is just a rough first setup. So I'll bring it in until I get a tone. Okay. And then I'll just go ahead and turn it out a half a turn. That'll give me about this much play. 1/8 of an inch of movement at the end of the paddle, something like that. Now I will take this adjustment is a very critical adjustment to understand. Now I will take it and I will adjust it such that I have about the same amount of throw onto the dash, to the dit, as I do to the dash.
Okay.
About it, maybe I'm deflecting 1/8 or a little over in each direction. And then we'll just go ahead and lock that down. Now, why did I say that was important? The thing that separates one of the main things that's different, obviously, about a paddle or a device that looks like this in your hand is that the pendulum needs to move with enough vigor to make good, clean, strong dots or dits. And in order to do that, you have to throw it and then stop it right here. It goes to a hard stop right here. Now that hard stop right there causes the pendulum to swing with enough vigor. If you don't use enough vigor with your thumb, you'll get weak dots. That's why it's important for your pendulum back here to strike that stop, and to get that motion started of your mainspring.
Oh,
Now,
I see. I got you.
I had that all the way out. So now what I'll do, we're not moving, or it very likely could be vibrating. We'll just bring that little guy back in until we make a little tone. Okay, now I'll just turn it out. There's a half. There's a half. I'll just turn it out one full turn.
And then you lock it down.
That's not enough. So what am I going to do? Oh no, this is trouble. This is terrible. Here's another half turn. Okay, I have about 11 dits before it slurs and goes to a solid tone. That gives me enough dits for a correction or any other letter or pro sound that I'm going to send anyway. But I'll go ahead and open her up just a little bit more. There's a place right here somewhere on every bug, it might be a little different, where you get the most perfect sound to your dots. But there, in about 6 or 7 minutes, we just took this thing from pendulum out to pendulum back in, and everything is adjusted, and you could get on the air with your bug right now. But now that's not adjusted for me. You can hear all those errors that I'm making. So that is a little better with only one T in better. Now, when you're sending, make sure that all of your screws, lock nuts are cinched down so you don't change adjustment while you're sending, and then it's like losing one lens out of your glasses while you're driving at night. You don't know what happened.
Right.
Well, it's the same story here. So there it is.
Very good. So, Red, did we answer your question about the slurred dits? I think we did.
Well, if the dits are slurred, obviously, and I would have to see it or hear it, but if the dits are slurred, it might be because the contact is so close. It's because it's just closing. The contact's too close, and it's just slurring before it gets to its proper adjustment. There's 12. There's about 18 right there. We'll lock her down, and I could get on the air with that.
Gotcha. So at some point, those dits do get slurred because just the nature of the pendulum, right?
Yes, because the pendulum comes to rest. Yes.
Right.
It begins to slow down, and you can actually see this. I wasn't planning. I'm not going to do it, but if you had an old analog voltometer, I can hook this up. I could hook that up to that voltometer, and I could watch. I could watch the arm go from open to about 50 or 60% of scale, and sit there until it begins to the change. Lose the vibration, and then it will just slowly go on over till it's making a solid contact.
Gotcha.
With it closed.
Now, this is probably going to be a dumb question, but this is what we're here to learn. I'm assuming that a bug is wired the same as any other key, or is it got different wiring? Like if I was going to hook that up to my radio, what Is it the same? I've got
Yes, you
dits
would
and
hook it up exactly as the same as a straight key.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, there are two contacts. One, yeah, and when the base is grounded, obviously, and this contact is there's an insulator in through the body, and there's standoffs. There's insulated standoffs. So these contacts are insulated from ground. So when you close, and your arbor and all these parts are ground. So when you close it, you're just closing the switch.
Gotcha. So you wire it
Just
like
a straight key.
Just like a straight key. Okay.
Yeah, there'll be two terminals. The two terminals go into the straight key port of your radio.
Gotcha.
And putting the body at ground matters to those of us who are keen boat anchors. You want the bulk of the metal that you're likely to touch to be at the chassis ground, not the minus 85 or the few hundred volts, depending on the boat anchor you're keen.
Shocking, simply shocking.
Very good. That was awesome, Tom. That was great. Any questions in the chat? They've been chatting away, man. It's been some good discussion about bugs, and yeah, did the like button. That's right, did the like button. Did it or whack it, one of the two. That's great.
Whack it.
Yeah, just give it a good whack.
And to help you whack it, these silicone pad here was once a 17 by 12 cookie sheet. That's silicone material, and it pretty much doesn't go anywhere, and you can set it away, and then you can whack it.
Yeah. Yeah, very good. That's awesome. That is awesome. All right, let's see. Let me go back to gallery mode. Thanks, Tom. That was awesome. So another thing that there was a question in the chat that someone was, what are some good things to look for if you were going to buy a bug, or if you were going to go and, Hamcation is coming up here in a couple of months, right? And there's going to be a ton of bugs and keys and everything else in the flea market. And let's say somebody, a new CW operator, was in they wanted to get a bug. What are some of the buying tips and tricks that you guys would share if someone was looking for a bug in a flea market?
So I think I'm going to grab that one.
That.
Yeah, go ahead, Bob.
I'm going to share a screen and show one of the bugs that I bought. I've been working with, hello, share screen. There we go. That one. Okay, so I'd had some exposure to a bug, and I really thought, gee, it'd be cool to take one of these all the way apart, put it back together again, and really get to know the mechanism. So this is a bug that I found on eBay, and this happens to be one of the seller's photos, complete with the fly right there at the tip of my...
oh, nice. Little protein on that bug.
Little protein.
Little bug on the bug. It's a bug on a bug.
And it's not red, but it's fine. Okay, so when I was looking at this one, this was a really good candidate to clean up. I was looking at things like all the screws are matching. The knurling on all the various pieces match. There are no missing parts. The arm down through here is straight. One of the common things you'll see on, well, not on all, but on some used bugs, finger pieces can be broken. This little portion of metal here can be bent out of shape. Somebody will drop a bug, it lands on the soft end, and it becomes a major repair project. But all the pieces were here, okay? And they matched, and they were there where they belonged. The chrome looked pretty good, okay?
Yeah.
And with some cleanup, by the way, this bug is a 1946, and it's got probably a bunch of years worth of dust and grime on it. This is what it cleaned up as.
Oh, wow. That is pretty.
Okay, and this is basically just disassembly and cleaning. No polishing, nothing that altered the fundamental bug itself. The jewel on the top, this is not the actual bearing. It's a decorative little bit of plastic on the tip. That was broken. Yeah, I could live with that. Okay. But again, all the pieces were there, so it was a good candidate to rebuild.
Yeah.
This is the state of take apart. Basically, no parts left together, or no parts left together that I couldn't move relative to each other. The little contact on there is a press fit, so you can't take this apart any further without getting into a bigger job. But everything came apart and
Yeah.
got clean.
Yeah, a little
Then
knurling there.
this is a little bit of photographs taken before taking it apart. Yeah, I know I can take it apart. Can I get it back together again? So really, really detailed photos of every single piece that I could look at. So I saw the screw and the washers down here and the braid under the washers against the finger piece. Okay, when I went to reassemble, I knew where everything came from. I can't emphasize enough. Lots of photographs.
Yeah. What was the R Burger 12 asks what were the conditions of the contacts?
So I don't know if I've got a good photo of the contacts. Actually, this is getting close. So another photo of pre-cleaning, obviously, and again, just lots of grime in there. On this spring, if you look at it, the spring steel on that is really clean. There was no rust on it.
Yeah.
This is a dit spring. This is the main spring. And both of those springs were in really good shape. I did a similar job on an early J36 that had a lot of rust on the mainspring. Most of the J36 Lightning designs I've played with have been able to do 80, 100 dits. And that J36 that had been rusted would do about 40. Did I have more than 10? Yep, I'm happy.
Yeah.
Okay, all the dits it needed, but the spring had been altered. The contacts themselves were black, a lot of oxide on them, but there was no pitting. And on some earlier bugs that have been used on key and high voltage radios, there could be issues on the condition of the contacts, but there were no problems here.
So, what did you use to, once you took everything apart, what did you use to clean all of the parts and the pieces?
Okay, so there were a few different solutions, and hey, Jill, who's listening, I did this by the kitchen sink. I had a number of different containers. One of them had a cleaning mixture from, Tom, do you remember the name of the book on YouTube, about $3, Cleaning Vibraplex Bugs or something like that? Do you remember the title?
You're on mute, Tom.
Anyway, there's a recipe in that book, and it consisted of things like a liquid soap. What was in there? Liquid soap.
I can read it here for you too, Bob. But the name of the book is Cleaning Vibraplex Bugs,
What a good name.
and the app is about $3, less than $3, perhaps.
It's an app that you can download.
No, I'm sorry. I'm not. It's a Kindle book. It's a book.
Kindle book. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, but it's by Ken Krause. Ken Krause is the author, and that's the name of it. Cleaning Vibraplex Bugs.
Yeah. Other keys that I've cleaned, ammonia was in there, Murphy soap was in there, just a very, very pure hand soap, and a whole bunch of water to dilute it down. That was basically it. So the cleaning consisted of putting it in that solution, clean it with a really soft toothbrush so I didn't leave any witness marks, any scratching. It went from that into a rinse just to get the bulk of the cleaning solution off. Alcohol, fairly high concentration alcohol to displace any water that might have been in there. Then it went out into the garage with a hot air gun to dry everything off, heat it up, dry it off, and then some WD-40 to protect it. When I reassembled, all the WD-40 came off. So I assembled the bug dry.
Gotcha.
On some other keys, just simple household ammonia has done a beautiful job on some keys.
Huh. I would think
couple of
ammonia
things
would
that
be.
can help. Tarnex, use with care. It cleans up the tarnish on the silver really well. Don't leave it on there for a long time. Just a little bit. Getting things apart. Kroil, Kroil. It's a deep penetrating oil. Some of those screws, you saw Tom tighten them down with his fingers. They're finger snug. They're not tightened down to last forever. Okay. But those were the main pieces.
Gotcha. Okay. Cool.
Oh, and the last thing I wanted to come back. On
Yeah.
this bug in the photographs, again, I could see the condition of the contacts and the springs. I really wanted to make sure that, rust here, rust in these places wasn't showing up and that the contacts were good and matching. I'll mention just quickly this piece of braid. This is a jeweled bearing, and the braid is here to make sure that there's really good electrical contact between the pivoting part and the frame. Again, these are jewels, they're insulated, top and bottom. So this is a really useful piece, and it can lead to not having a good contact between this arm and the frame can lead to all sorts of artifacts on the cane.
Gotcha. Yeah.
People may not think, oh, it's got to be the contacts. Well, maybe it's the pivot.
Yeah. Starting to wrap up here, but Ron had a question. What can you do about up and down play because the dial lever is worn where it pivots around the trunnion? He's got a bug that's very old and well worn. Tom, you want to field that one maybe?
Yes, I'll just say, live with it. I mean, that's on a lot of the older bugs. They changed the way it was made. On some of the older bugs, there's very little to no play, but on the newer bugs, there is some play on that arm, but without going in and taking a big chance of breaking something, trying to bend it, get a little, tighten it, or to take a punch and close it up. If it's slightly worn, it's just been used a lot, and it's okay. It's there's not a lot that I know of or that you could do with it. Now, of course, you could take it apart and you could order another piece from Vibraflex and you could put it together.
His bug is so old, Vibraflex doesn't make parts for it anymore. It's from the 1920s, I think. So
right now, and in the 1920s, well, this one is 1918, and it has some up and down movement in it.
Hang on, I gotta let me pin you here.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, it's showing how I'm working Zoom here. Okay, go ahead.
It has a little bit of play in it, but there's just, like I say, you just kind of need to work around that. The arbor, the pin that goes through here in the older ones is a press fit. It's about 1/1000th or so larger than the hole that goes through here, and they're pressed into place, and they actually move metal around when it goes through there. The newer ones have a screw that you can actually take that out, and you might could do something with them. But the older ones, I don't know much that you could do other than either replace or sure, if you get it apart, get some solder, put some solder in there, re-drill it, tighten it up, do something like that without doing a lot of, without taking a chance of tearing anything up. I wouldn't try to silver solder it, but you could, shim it perhaps a little bit, but it would not be an elegant solution at all.
Right, yeah.
And this is that screw Tom mentioned. It's a little bit hard to see, but right here, there's a screw going through the arm, and that screw is what locks the pivot arm.
Right, and if you could take that out, then you might could do a little bit with it, but unless it's absolutely necessary, because you have to make a few tools and drive that old pin out.
Show that again, Bob. I was messing around. I'm having trouble with. I need to pin you and replace the pin. Maybe. All right. Yeah. Go ahead and show that again, Bob. I'm sorry. I need to learn how to. I need a class in freaking Zoom here. So, Tom, you were talking about something while I was messing with Zoom and Bob was demonstrating.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I'm just saying that at the end, that cone, the cone shaped arbor here passes through the the part of the pendulum up here, and this is a 1918, and it is a press fit in there. It may be a thousandth or so bigger than the hole it's going through.
Yeah.
And when they put that in there, it's pretty much in there to stay. You can move it a little if you have to, but there's not a lot of play going on there, and so that's why I say you may just be better off to try to live with it and love it like it is. You could and maybe a little bit more tension on the spring.
Yeah. Gotcha.
But since a bug has so much play in it already, back and forth, that little bit of up and down, once you, unless it's really affecting you making the contact, and if it's doing that, you got a serious problem that I would really have to study it before I would have an idea how to work on it.
Gotcha.
Most things are straightforward, but that would be pretty hard.
Okay. A few comments here, and then we're going to wrap things up. Grayman Poda says, tell Bob that he's got the first draft of the article, and the article is the CW decoder device for the hearing impaired. He has got the first draft of that article done, which I learned a little bit about that device on the CW Long Island CW stream, where they're making some type of haptic device that hearing impaired people can feel the CW versus hearing it, right?
Yeah, if I can give a really quick plug.
Yeah, sure.
So here is the device. I'm sorry, I'm not set up to run it right now, but this is the device, not terribly large. You power it off of 9 to 13 volts ish. Audio feeds in, audio feeds out. And then you've got two controls here, which set a tone that it's listening for. If you think about your receiver, you've got this narrow spike of tone, which is the signal that you're trying to copy.
Okay.
So this is a detector side, which is looking for that tone and rejecting other tones. Okay?
Okay.
And what comes out of that is a digital signal, ones and zeros. It's key down, key up, key down, key up. The key down, key up goes into this other side of the box, which drives a vibration speaker. If you buy a home theater, your seat might vibrate for you. It's probably something like this.
Yeah.
Have your hand on the device, and as the person's keying, you're going to feel it as vibration.
Yep.
These lights are going to blink along with the tone. So we've got some people, almost wherever you put your hand, one of these lights is going to show through. You can feel it, you can see it.
Yeah. Very cool. Yeah. It's like a rumble seat that drummers use. Yep. Yeah. Very cool. And are you going to sell these, or is Long Island and CW Club going to, how are they going to distribute these? Is it going to become a kit? Like what's going to happen?
If you go to the Long Island CW website, longislandcwclub.org, on the top page, there is a link for, there's a link that'll take you down to folks who have one or another challenge on CW. One of those is hearing loss. And if you follow that link, it'll take you this device. I believe that they are $275 shipped in the US. There's a 30-day guarantee on them. And so far, they are all built about 3 feet behind me, or at least final assembled about 3 feet behind me.
Very good. Very good. James, real quick, has got, I think, just a general question that we can answer. He asked, should I learn left-handed so I can write with my right? I write with my right, and I send with my right. It all depends on how coordinated you are. Will you answer that, Bob?
Yeah, I'm actually going to mention two things. I mentioned the 275. That goes to Long Island CW, not to me.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Okay, it's the club. I'm just supporting them in that respect. So I mentioned the left-hand bug. I'm right-hand dominant. And there are times when my right hand's busy and I wanted to use the left. So I learned how to send right-handed with a variety of different keys. And again, by keying both devices at the time, my right hand, which knew what it was doing, I'd sense da did it did da did it, right? So I learned the movement
Mm,
mirroring,
yeah,
and this hand picked it up in no time.
gotcha.
So learn whichever hand works well for you. I think the transition from one to the other isn't phenomenally difficult.
Yeah, I'll echo what Bob's saying. I mean, once you got the motion down with one hand, it's you just mirror it with the other hand, and it's almost there's almost no learning curve at all. I can go from a right-handed bug to a left-handed bug and don't even have to think about it or skip a beat. The other thing I'll say though is I don't know how much you're actually going to write. I mean, I guess it depends on what you're doing, but I mean, if you're talking specifically, we're talking bugs, right? Unless you're talking like a CAN 4YB or something, most of them are going to be 20, 22 words a minute plus. You're probably not going to be writing things down at 22, 25 words a minute. So you're probably going to be doing a lot of head copy. So realistically, if you're writing a call sign or something down, get back on the bug, it's not a big deal. I guess that's kind of my 2 cents is you can definitely learn to do it left-handed, but if you're head copying everything anyway, or most of everything, you probably don't need to worry about. And like I said, when you're talking about writing, a bug's kind of too fast to try to keep up with what you're writing. So,
Oh,
Yeah, I
yeah,
think it's more for doing a quick fill, that kind of thing.
yeah,
Yeah,
yep.
and I think if the question was, should you? And I think the answer to that, should you, is if you want to. But I would certainly learn, if I were right-handed, I would learn with my strong hand first, because depends on where you keep your paper if you're going to write. It doesn't have to be that far away. You can send with your pencil in your hand. You know, I would learn the conventional way of doing it, and then like they both said, you keep your thumb on the ditch and your index on the dashes, and you can switch hands with an hour's practice.
Oh, one thing I did want to toss in there very, very quickly. Uh, Part of what's cool about the bug is it's got a built-in straight key,
Yep.
except this table it's sliding around, you firm anchor. It's also a lovely way to add a little bit of emphasis. 100 watts. So the DAWs in there, the cut zeros, you
Yep.
can make it stand out a little bit. I'm willing to have a little personality on a bug. I'm trying for something that's very close to clean, accurate code.
Yeah, very good. So tell us real quick, we're going to try and wrap it up here. Where can they go and find more information about bugs? Are there any resources out there that you guys suggest to go get more information? And also, we're going to plug the Long Island CW Club, and also when your Zoom is all about bugs. I forget the actual day of the week it is, but where would somebody go and find some more information about bugs? Do you guys have any other resources that you have found that's good on the web?
A lot of good information on YouTube.
Yep.
Yeah,
Is
how to
there
set up various bugs, people's review of them. Eham has some really nice reviews of some of the bugs that are out there.
should they is keying in Vibroplex bugs, is that probably the first keyword or search words that you would use to find some more information about bugs?
Yeah, there are videos out there on setup of the Vibroplex as an example. Somebody will have a video, hey, I've got this really cool 1940 whatever, and they'll just demonstrate sending with it.
Yeah.
Right, but if you want to look up, because in preparation for a while about bugs, or especially early on a year ago, I did a lot of research looking for information about bugs. And if you do a search and you type in bugs, type ham radio keys, telegraph instrument bug, put something else with it, or that way you won't get tons of
Yep.
people calling you up wanting to come to your house and spray your house.
Right.
I add something to it. If you want to look up a particular bug and you know the name of it, type it in. There's W1TP. Tom Pereira's got an online museum. It's got thousands of keys in it, including a lot of bugs. So there's sources, and there are a lot of there are YouTube has some, yes.
Yeah, I just want to mention there are relatively few makers, contemporary makers of bugs. Vibraplex is out there. We've mentioned KN4YB with that little right angle, and he makes several other designs. One other manufacturer out there is Begali. They've got the Intrepid, which is a wonderful, smooth operating bug. It almost feels more like a paddle than it does a bug because it takes such very little low energy. It's just a wonderfully smooth bug, but this is another one which is current manufacture.
That is a good looking. That looks like a Ferrari of bugs right there.
Yeah, this is my Italian espresso machine. I mean, it's just a gorgeous design, and it's different than a Vibraplex. The KN4YB and the Intrepid both have different setup. There's a video out there, LICW. We show how to set this guy up as well as the swing, which is a really interesting side swiper.
Yeah, that is a very beautiful key right there. Yeah, very good.
They're very, very expensive, though.
I bet so. I bet you that thing's probably, I don't even want to guess.
I think they're 475 euros, I think is what they're going for. So 500 and change dollars, something like that.
And that has that has the pendulum coming back to the paddle, which is crazy.
Yeah, no, the pendulums flip the other way around. One of the things to mention, the Intrepid has a nice low end on it. The low speed on it, I've only got one weight on here. With the two weights on the low end, it'll go down to around 15 or so. And with one weight on the high end, it's like 37 or 38. So it's got a nice wide range.
Wow. Great. Wow. All right. Long Island CW Club, if you want to learn more about bugs, I think you probably should join Long Island CW Club. What night or what day and time is your Wild About Bugs forum on that you guys host with the Long Island CW Club?
It's 5 o'clock Eastern on Mondays.
5 p.m. Eastern on Mondays, and you guys just do a whole. How long does the forum usually last? About an hour.
We have an hour worth of time, and there's another class that comes on behind us, so we have an hour.
Gotcha.
And we have some. Honestly, we have some of the best CW code ham. If I could just say it, key collectors. We have key collectors from all over the world, Germany, Australia, here in the United
And that's
States.
Tuesday, Tom. Tuesday.
Did I say Monday? Yeah, it's Tuesday. I'm
Monday.
sorry.
Tuesday.
I'm sorry. 5 p.m. Tuesday Eastern time. Yeah, but we have ex-commercial operators. We have experts, key collectors with gazillions of keys and many, many bugs, and a lot of enthusiastic people in there. So it's and we can really take some deep dives. We can find the rabbit hole, and we can look for the other end of it all for an hour.
And again, as the enthusiastic newcomer, the depth of knowledge that's there in the club to be mined is just amazing.
It's pretty awesome.
So if you go out and find a bug in a flea market and you need help, Tuesdays at 5 p.m. Eastern is probably where you should be hanging out. And I'm sure that somebody, Bob or Tom or somebody in that Zoom will probably. You got to pipe up too. I'm sure that you got to ask some questions, but I'm sure that there will be somebody to give you some direction, right?
Yeah, and a bunch of us have gotten together with folks independent of the classes. They've got a
you have our call, both our calls. We're good in. I'm sorry. We're both good in QRZ, and if you had a problem that you just couldn't get over, just email one of us, and we'll help you. Even get on Zoom with you. We've done all that.
You can tell we hate talking about bugs.
We like bugs, and if you like bugs, you're okay. I'll be a friend of yours.
A friend of mine, you're a friend of yours.
Yeah.
All right, very good. Well, Bob and Tom, thank you for sharing your knowledge and showing off your keys and how to adjust a key or how to adjust a bug. This was awesome. This was by far one of the most informational shows that we've had in a while, which is great. It shows the depth of CW and all the things that you can do. And I was glad that we could bring this show to everyone to get them more enthused and get the information about bugs out there. Any departing words, Bob or Tom, that you want to say? And we'll let Evan have the last word before we leave here, and yeah, we'll call it good. Any last words, Bob?
The thought that keeps hitting me in the back of my mind, I like using all the different kinds of keys, but the piece that I'm most fine-tuning is my ear. I have to be able to hear what I'm sending and understand what I'm sending to know how to fix it.
Yeah.
So I'm developing a much more discerning ear for the quality of the code that I send.
Yeah. Yeah. Tom, any last words?
Yeah, I just had a good time. I enjoyed it. Thank you for asking to be here. Let me be here.
Thank you. Thank you. It's
I
my
like
pleasure.
talking about bugs.
Yeah. Evan, what do you got coming up in your channel? I noticed that you're a posting fool, man, on that tube of you.
So I've got a lot of activation videos scheduled. That bug activation that I did, that'll be January. That'll be live January 4th. I'm going to be doing I think I'm going to do a QRP head-to-head kind of shootout with all my different radios. I'll do 2 radios a week over the winter and kind of put them head-to-head and see who wins, and we'll see if we can come up with a winner. So that'll be kind of interesting. And I've been watching the chat. There are a lot of people in the chat that are like, I want to learn CW. You know, I'm a Long Island CW Club member, but I haven't been in any classes. Come to class. Mike, K8MRD, I'm talking to you and a bunch of you other guys. I want to see you guys in class. If it's not my class, I'm Thursdays at 4 p.m. Eastern. If it's not my class, go to somebody else's class, but learn. I promise you, once you learn CW, it's so much fun, you'll never want to stop. So, Kyle, thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it.
Yep. Thank you. A little programming note for everyone out there in YouTube land. On the 11th, which is our usual every 2 weeks new CW roundtable, I will be in Disney World. So I will not be here. I will be in Florida, but we are not going to have a stream on the 11th. We are going to have a stream on the 18th, which is the following Monday, and we're going to have Scott. I forgot his call sign. It is Frank's Tank from Tank Radio. His stepdad makes a Morse code tutor called the Morse Monkey, and we're going to interview Scott and talk to him about the Morse Monkey. Then we're going to take off for July 1st, and we're going to get back into our 2-week cadence on January 8th, and Evan is going to show off all of his QRP rigs, and we're going to talk about QRP CW rigs on January 8th. So that is, so again, the next stream is the 18th, because we're going to delay it a week, and then we're going to take January 1st off, or actually our regular cadence would be on Christmas. We're going to take Christmas off because everyone should spend time with their families and with Santa. And we're going to continue January 8th with QRP rigs. And we got a bunch of other cool stuff planned for the first of the year. So anyway, thanks, everyone. I appreciate it. Again, thanks to Bob and Tom for sharing their knowledge with bugs. And yeah, we will see you on the 18th of December. Thanks, everyone. 73.
Kyle, thank you again. Really appreciated being here. Thanks, folks.
Thank you. CW on.
Thank you, Kyle.